Flashback.
Okay, unfortunately, situation abort. It just hammered it now. It stopped now so I could continue. However, I can't because this bad boy is mangled.
End of flashback.
I've finally got the well, I've got a tool to get rid of the stripped nuts in my spacer, and I've had to buy whole new spacers because the original supplier of the spacers, who arguably was given quite a long time to respond, after 2 weeks I hadn't heard back from. So I ended up just buying some new spacers, because once I get that stripped one out, chances are I won't be getting it back in. Well, I won't be. He hasn't been able to send me a replacement. So, there we go. There we go. And if I'm successful at getting this off, I'm going to get my pressure washer in to clean the back side of these wheels, because they are, well, they're black. So I'm going to give this part of the car a bit of a pressure wash. So just going to check some other bits and bobs, but one of these is stripped. Let's see if I can figure out which. Cool. Hey friends, so turns out my optimism for getting the seized bolts out of my wheel spacers was misplaced. They are in there good. Clearly, when you torque something down by 100 pound-foot, you and the little 8mm hex that's meant to wind those nuts in and out gives a normal bolt removal tool ain't gonna cut it. It didn't cut it. So now I've had to come up with another plan. So what I'm going to do, I've decided, because I've got a couple of options. If my first try fails, then I can always just go and buy a welder and start learning to weld. Weld a nut onto the top of the bolt, and that way I can just use a normal you know, socket to get the bolt out. So before I go to the expense of buying a welder, although at some point I'm probably going to need to do that anyway, but before I do that, I have a cutting plan. My idea, so these are little cutting wheels for my Dremel, is to cut the top off of this 16mm spade bit that we use in kitchen fitting. There we go. So just cut it across there. Then I'm going to carve a groove into the top of the nuts that I need to extract, and hopefully I'll get enough pressure and leverage with that to get them spinning in the right direction. And like I say, if not, then we will simply go and buy a welder and do the nuts. But that's about 100 quid-ish that I don't need to spend right now. Albeit it could be a good welding experience. Let's try the cheap way first, see if we can get it spinning. And it'll cost me all of about 15 minutes this afternoon, this evening, after I've cut this tool down, which I don't really need anymore anyway, because I've got plenty more. So an old 16mm spade bit, and a little bit of time, hopefully we've solved the problem. And if not, hey, my welding career starts early. But there we go. Wish me luck. Goggles on, because I do not want to do my eyes any damage. Well, it's gone from bad to worse. I have attempted to cut this section out, but I haven't got a decent enough angle grinder and I don't want to accidentally go into the hub and cause more problems, so I gave up on that. Welding it, so I've now gone and got myself a little arc welder, which will probably be useful up in the future, but I cannot, these bolts are in there so well that I cannot get them off, even welding a nut and or a bolt to the top of them. My welding probably isn't very good yet, but I thought I'd make a very rough little weld man out of the nuts that I've destroyed, just to prove that I'm not a complete failure. That's what I've accomplished in about 2 hours and a lot of swearing. So I think the only answer now is that, as I found this out because I wanted to change the brakes anyway, and the car is 27 years old and has probably never had the front bearings changed, I can take the front bearings out, which will take this and this, which I don't want to keep anyway, with it. All I've got to do is buy new front bearings, which is probably a job worth doing anyway. I mean, okay, there's nothing wrong with these bearings, they're clearly fine, but I don't seem to have much of a choice, and it's probably the cheapest way out of this now. So, for another day, but this has been a brake change fail.
2 days later.
So, attempt number, I don't know, 3 or 4, something like that. And I'm going to have to remove the brakes, but I'm going to do the brakes anyway. So first things first, you take these caps off here, so I believe. Better put them somewhere safe. Okay. Then we need a hex nut or an Allen key, one or the other. Better get in there and have a look. Yeah, an Allen key, which I think is a 7mm one. So get one of those. We'll start whipping these off. So yeah, just removed this from here. That was a 7mm hex to remove these, which is just what allows the caliper to slide. Just unclip the brake hose from the shock absorber, and then I think it should start coming apart. But I probably need to release the brakes are on. The brakes are on so that I could get the nuts off. Yeah, better take them off. The other thing, of course, is to take the cap off of your brake fluid, because when you go and release the caliper there, you'll put pressure back into the system, and that's not good. You want it to be able to go somewhere. Then that's a 16 there and there to remove the rest of the caliper. In order to get the hub off, because of that, I need to take the brake off, take the disc off with the space that I'm going to bin. Basically, this design of bolts for a spacer is poor. Yeah, it's poor is all I'll say. Too easy to strip with the kind of torque that you've got to put on them. But if I change the hub, I can put the new discs on there